Welcome to Where Does Food? My name is Tim.
Party people, Mel.
We are going to talk about mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise.
Yeah, we're going to talk about mayo, as it's also colloquially
That's
known.
super controversial. Some people probably just click this off immediately.
Are you serious? Really?
Yeah.
You think so?
People are hit or miss, but I'm like,
People are hit or miss on mayo?
you gotta appreciate it.
I'm about to drop some news on you. People are not hit or miss on mayo. That shit is a staple, and we are going to dive into that nonsense.
I like it.
How do you like mayo? You like mayo?
I don't mind it.
Yeah?
I'm
a fiend for mayo.
I always
mayo.
put it on my sandwiches, which apparently some people are like, what the fuck? But like, yeah, no, I put it on my sandwiches.
I am a fiend
I'll have it on my
mayo.
chicken sandwiches.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my go-to fry dip condiment at this point.
Yeah,
yeah. 100%.
A little fancy sauce action.
Yeah, totally,
100%,
in on it. Yeah, and if I'm not in the mood for the ketchup part, I will absolutely just mayo. Thanks. I'll just dip my fries in it. Yeah, I don't care.
Interesting.
Yeah, dude,
okay.
It's good. Are you kidding me?
I actually never
Ketchup
done the mayo.
To me, ketchup's the overrated one. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Yeah, I think ketchup's the overrated one personally.
Noted.
Like it's mayo, mustard, and then ketchup for me.
My mouth just dropped on that.
Ketchup's just kind of boring, man. It's just a little sweet. You know? Mayo, though. Mayo's that.
Would you put mayo on a hot dog? I was just curious.
Like maybe, but like it would just have
try
to.
it for sure. I would put mayo and ketchup just to try it.
And you know what? We'll dive into the different types of mayo and like what that would look like and what I think could work on a hot dog.
All right.
All right. So you don't mind mayo?
I don't mind it.
As is tradition on this show with 3 episodes, we're going to give it a rating. Well, you're going to give it a rating, and I'm going to come back to that rating at the end and see if you despise it more or if you like it more.
Okay.
And it's not the same. I believe the last episode was red balloons, and I believe the first episode was horseshoes, something like that.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to go a little traditional.
What you got for me?
How many gold stars out of 10 do you give?
My next one. Out of 10.
I had that one loaded.
I would, let me go with a solid 7.
A 7 for
mayo. 7 out of 10, yeah.
Out of 10.
You're probably going to up it for me, though. I feel like that's probably what's going to end up happening right now. So a sort of 7.
Yeah, and you know what?
70.
That's a really solid score, though.
Yeah.
7 is super solid. That means you definitely like mayo.
I appreciate, yeah.
Right? Well, we're going to spread some mayo. Hey there, it's your host Tim, stopping the podcast to tell you about an awesome deal that you can get through Rep Sports. Rep Sports is a supplement company, so they help supplement people's workout lives. They have proteins, pre-workouts, post-workouts, recoveries. They have all types of supplements over there, so go check them out and fill out that stack. I know you're getting low. I can feel it. My stack's getting low. I'm about to do me a shop as well. You can also get mine and Elle's favorite energy drink, Raise Energy. I'm telling you, 1 can gets you through the day. Not a problem. Raise Energy is fantastic. No crash at all. So if you go to repsports.com and use the code WDF15, you can get 15% at checkout. Again, WDF15, you get 15% at checkout, and you also get to support this podcast and support your workout routine, man. Go do it. Now enjoy the rest of this podcast that we love doing. Hey guys, welcome to the ad section. I'm here to tell you real quick about Anchor by Spotify. You may have heard us talk about Anchor at the end of our episodes, is because Anchor is the platform we use to distribute our podcasts. It's totally free. It helps us distribute our podcasts to different platforms. That's how we're on Apple Podcasts. That's how we're on Google Podcasts, CastBox, you name it. They've helped us do that. You can record directly on the app, on the webpage. So you don't even need a super fancy setup. It's super straightforward, totally free. So download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started on your podcast or whatever you like to do. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of the episode. All right, so first let's talk about what mayo is.
Yeah.
It is defined as a cold, thick sauce.
Huh.
She's thick. So the color ranges from like a white to a palish yellow.
Are we still talking about mayo?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's kind of what the color range looks like. So it's typically the way we typically consume it, right? It's on sandwiches, fried foods, burgers. That's sort of its home. Salads kind of have mayo-y based dressings, things like that. Again, we're going to kind of discuss like mayo is, if food is a triangle, mayo's a point. At which a lot of things, like, you know what? We're creating the food triangle. We have toast, we have mayo so far.
I like this.
Like, toast is what we learned was how
it's essential.
It's essentially like it is a food group. So we're going to kind of find out here that just the basis of mayo truly is, it is a sauce of all sauces. It is the queen of sauces. Also, I have a lot of French words to say.
Oh,
and
I cannot wait for this.
Names to say.
Yes.
Because mayonnaise is intrinsically French. The word isn't, but like.
So
it's going to be fun. All right, let's talk about what mayo is outside of just saying it's a cold, thick sauce.
Yes.
So, mayo is an emulsion of, which all an emulsion is it's two things that don't combine, right? Two liquids that don't combine. So, mayo is essentially an emulsion of oil and an egg yolk. Some modern things use
egg yolks.
Yeah, some modern versions use like whole eggs. So like mass-produced mayos typically have whole eggs involved. But traditionally, if you were to make it at home, which I've made mayo at home, it's really not super difficult. All you do is you pull some eggs in a bowl, separate your yolks. You either put it on a stand mixer or by hand.
Okay.
Just use a mixer for the love of God. And then you slowly put in a certain amount of oil. Until it emulsifies into a thick, sort of creamy sauce. Wow. It also, typically to balance it out, gets put with vinegar or some sort of acid. Lemon's very common. Vinegar is super common. And then another one that's become more common is mustard. Typically, if I'm making like homemade mayo, it's olive oil, egg yolks, mustard. Typically like a Grey Poupon. I want something that has a little bit of heart to it. Then a little bit of malt vinegar. And then I put a little bit of salt.
Sounds delicious. Okay.
Yeah, so that's like, I don't make homemade mayo a lot. I'm not saying this to brag. I'm just saying that like I've made it before. And it is good, but it's a process. Like, you know, it's not the hardest thing in the world to do, but it is a lot of like,
take some time.
It's a lot of product that you just have to use. Like it's like 5 egg yolks and like a cup of oil. And like it's just a lot of that product. And then like,
I was like, that's almost half a dozen eggs right there just to make a little bit of mayo.
To make a small jar of mayo.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, it is delicious, and I do recommend, if you do like cooking, you like being in the kitchen, try making your own mayo once, because it is super good. It's very flavorful, and it's a lot different than what your standard sort of non-specialized mayo out of a jar is.
Sure.
So that's typically how it's made and what it's made from, and like I said earlier, it is the base for a ton of sauces. Tartar sauce, burger and fry sauces.
Okay.
If you are getting a burger and fry sauce, it's probably got mayo in it. If it's not outright just mayo based. Yeah. There are mustard based sauces, which is to simply say that there's a higher mustard ratio than other condiment ratios. But like most,
for the most part,
burger and fry sauces are like super mayo based with ketchup, mustard, white pepper, garlic, a little bit of onion, some salt, MSG. I'm just being honest with you guys. That's like the pinnacle of all foods white pepper, salt, white pepper and salt and MSG. That's like those three. That's the food pyramid. Those three make up pretty much all fast food joints like things. Yes. Just so you know.
I love it.
Yeah. So like I said, burger fry sauces, remoulades, which is similar to a tartar sauce. Salsa Gulf. I was super interested to learn a little about this because I didn't know what that was. Yeah. But it's popular in Argentina, and this is where the ketchup mayo comes from. It's salsa Gulf. It's a Franken sauce. It's essentially, and its origin isn't really solidified either. Okay. Like there's a couple of different origins. Like they kind of give credit to a guy. I don't have his name. Apologize. They kind of give credit to a guy who like was at a diner or like at a golf resort or whatever, and like decided to make his own sauce. But then there's also the origin that like a cook at a resort made their own.
So some resort,
but it is typically and most commonly ketchup mayo.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's where that comes from,
Okay,
which
I
I
had no
thought
idea.
I thought that was really cool because like you said earlier, fancy sauce, like I usually just call it like your basic fry sauce, like it's the most like baseline, like start here and you can pretty much make whatever fry sauce you want. So the way I've kind of structured this, because as I was kind of researching it, I noticed that the etymology and the history sort of lived in tandem. And so we're going to kind of, sorry if I bounce around and the time frames get a little looped. It's just that like the etymology was really interesting to me. And I'm always fascinated with words. So we're kind of going to go with like how the name mayonnaise came. And that's going to kind of roll into just kind of history in general. Okay. So the name of mayonnaise, it's, as you guessed, it's unclear in origin, like most things. Something that's commonly believed is it was named after Port Mahon. That's what I'm assuming it's called. Port Mahon. They believed it was in honor of, first big name, follow along, ladies. Louis Francis Armand de Vignerat du Plessis.
I love that. That's like 6 names. That's a name.
The third Duke of Richelieu, I think, is what that is. Richelieu, after his successful campaign against the British in 1756.
Yeah,
he essentially took Port Mahon in that year. He conquered it essentially. Yes.
Right away, yeah.
Yeah, so the belief is that one of his cooks pretty much did a riff on what was the like original mayo, which is known as aioli bo. Now, you've heard the term aioli, right?
Yes.
Literally, aioli is mayo. It's essentially the same. It functions identical. The biggest difference is that garlic is usually involved in aioli.
Oh,
and
interesting.
Aioli bo specifically is an oil, garlic, egg emulsification.
Okay.
So, like, that's sort of where mayo gets its start.
Okay.
So it's known as aioli bowl for a while.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
So
apparently the cook just sort of did a riff. This is a belief.
Okay.
Again, it's hard to follow that stuff. There's also other versions where like he made it, of course, because it's like, let's give credit to the man. Like screw all the guys around him. That's probably,
actually doing it.
Making his bed at night and tucking him in, it's all him,
It's the early, no. Okay. So clarification, because people like to intertwine it together, but technically aioli and mayo are 2 different things because of the process.
It's actually not because of the process. It's literally just ingredients. You can just kind of get pedantic with it, which is why most people just say, I think at this point, etymologically, it is like, it's in my world, it's interchangeable. But I guess if you want to be like a dick about it, you can be like, no, this
actually, because of the oil.
Yeah. Because of the garlic, you can actually, but like, shut up.
I wanted my own clarification on that. So
and like I said, other versions of that story is that the Duke like discovered the sauce at an inn, that he created the sauce at an inn, which is the same as like the golf sauce. You know what I mean? It's like the same thing of like, I was staying at an inn and then I threw some sauce together. Fuck off, like you didn't do any of that.
I went to the kitchen and
so we first see a rendition of the word mayonnaise as mahonnaise.
Because of the
and so it does, that word does appear in literature.
Interesting.
But it isn't until like way after that event.
Interesting.
So that's sort of why there's that kind of question mark over, is this where it comes from? Because it's like, is it really him or his cooks, or was it just that city kind of made something? You know what I mean? So but I think we like to try and pin it to something. So, that's why. All right. Are you ready for this name that I'm going to try and read?
Yes.
All right. So Alexandra Balthazar Laurent Grimond de la Renière.
Oh my gosh. What a fucking name.
What a fucking guy. So he was born with deformed hands.
Okay.
And so that made him a little bit of a reject, but he was born into a wealthy family.
We love that. Okay.
So
saving grace.
He ended up doing like a lot of theater reviews for a long time.
Okay.
And so like that's sort of how he got into this world of like being a critic.
Oh, okay.
Which is super interesting.
Yeah.
Also, he was like Billy Madison. The dude threw like parties when his parents were gone. Like maybe Billy Madison's not the right one. Maybe Ferris, maybe Bueller. But like this dude was a Bueller. You know what I mean? He's like totally like he's throwing massive parties. Like he's got all of his homeboys coming over. Like
girls coming
like
through.
yeah, like he's fucking smashing ass like with his fucking fucked up hands. No, he's doing great, man. So he actually, so this is sometime after, he actually rejected the word mayonnaise.
Okay.
He didn't like it.
What an asshole.
Why didn't he like it?
Yeah.
Well, he's a theater critic, right? He didn't like it because it isn't French.
I love that.
So he was just like, he was like, you know what?
Okay.
I don't, you know, he was like, you know what? I don't like mayonnaise.
Fuck this.
I don't like mayonnaise. It's not a good word. It's not French. And then he also rejected mayonnaise. By the way, this stuff all happened in the time frame of like, I believe it was like 1730 and like 1850-ish. Like it's like in like no, just like this is where these people are in time, right? Like so that guy who again 1756, like he ended up taking that port back, and that's when we started to develop the name Mayo. So in that 56 to like a person's lifetime, like a person's lifespan. So around the 1840, 1830 mark, so that was sort of where we're at, where all these people are living and existing. And so that's why he has a critique for both mayonnaise, the word, and also mayonnaise, because it's those things were happening at different times.
Incredible. Okay.
Yeah. Because he said Port Mahon isn't known for good food. Just straight up was like, no, they're not known for good food.
Oof.
So he preferred bayonnaise, which is a totally different thing. It's not even like an aioli. Like it's not
not even the same
it's not mayo. It's actually known as an aspic, because it comes from the city of Bayonne, which he claimed had many innovative gourmands and produces the best hams in Europe. This dude is my best friend.
This guy.
Yeah. So again, this thing is actually an aspic, which is a cold jelly instead of a sauce. It's got very similar ingredients. But it has gelatin in it.
Yeah,
so
it's
it
inherently
firms up.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Yeah.
So he was contrarian just to be contrarian. And I
was the first troll just to be a troll.
Dude, he's Bueller, man. He's Bueller, baby. I said he was Billy Madison, but that was a lie. He's Bueller, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
It's not French. I don't like it. Fuck it.
Yeah. Another person, again, we're just talking with names. So another person around the time, Marie Antoine Carme, called it magnanaise, which he got from the verb manier.
We both just made a very confused look on our face.
Apparently, magnanaise, he got from the verb manier, which just means to handle. Also could be pronounced like manière or whatever, you know what I mean? Which just means to handle.
Okay.
So it's just a different variation of this word that's floating around in this time period. Another idea that's tossed around is, which isn't supported as much, is the Duke of Mayen Charles de Lorraine. So many names.
You got it, dude.
Yeah, because this comes from during the Battle of Arquez in 1589. So rolling it back a little bit further, and this one isn't as popular, just because like there's nothing else in literature. There's nothing else around it that sort of. The only thing it has is a name. Like the name is similar, so it's like, oh, maybe. But apparently it is said that before he lost that battle, I also kind of love this guy because he like was in the middle of the battle, and apparently the story is that he took his time to finish his chicken, and he had it paired with a cold sauce, like a cold thick sauce. So the idea is that like, oh, that was probably mayo, right?
I fucking love that guy.
And then he absolutely lost the battle.
I was really hoping that you were about to be like, dude took his time and then went and crushed the competition.
No, he lost.
He got demolished. Okay. Well, at least he was full.
Yeah. At least he was full. So, mayonnaise first appeared in French cookbooks in the 18th century. So now we're starting to get recipes and cookbooks and stuff.
Literature.
And in the 18th century, in 1750, a Valencian friar, Francis Roger Gomila, published a book called Art de la Cucina with a sauce he called aioli bowl. Aioli bowl, again, which is similar to mayo, like I said earlier. Cookbooks. So that's all.
The French.
That's like mostly French, right? Like mostly that's where French people. So Spain also, Spain also had their fair share of like run-ins with mayo. That's what we're going to call it.
That's a good way to go.
Yeah, so similar sauces in Spanish cookbooks. And this was in the 14th century. 14th century book, Libre de Sensovi, where it was called alioli.
Ooh,
yeah.
Okay.
Which literally translates to oil and garlic. Yeah, so this is back in the 14th century.
Okay.
And this is in Spain.
Wow,
So
okay,
different,
yeah.
different place in the world there. Don't know if you know that.
Say
Yeah.
what?
That sauce
Hola.
is a staple of the region, and it appears in not only that, but it appears in a lot of other literature. So very cool. In 1745, Juan de Alamares gave a recipe for it in his cookbook, Nuevo Arte de Cocina. So again, you see it even later, in 1745. All right. So how do you feel about all that I went over? Like, that is sort of the etymology and history with mayo. Again, we got Spain doing it in the 14th century just as a different name. And they're doing it all the way to 1745 and onward. And then again, in France, you got people that are, again, the origin of the actual word isn't necessarily like solidified, but like you got people that are like, no.
Absolutely not. That's not a good
Absolutely not. And then you have, people that are just like, well, I prefer this, which I love.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah, I love that people are like, I don't
care.
No.
I don't like that. We're going to just change that because, again, what a French thing to do, though, honestly.
It's super French. And
super French. Because the Spaniards were over there, like,
making
their aioli.
And I'm, to just go even a little bit, and we're going to talk we're going to bring it forward a little bit soon, and we're going to talk about sort of where mayo is now. Sure. But, like, I think the most interesting thing about me or about this, not about me, but about this that I find, the most interesting thing about me is that I love mayo. No, is that, the word mayonnaise, I clearly sort of happened somewhere in the 16th century. Like, it's somewhere, but that doesn't really matter. Like, because at the end of the day, in the 14th century, we were emulsifying oils and herbs and other shit. We were putting that all together, and that just became a thing. We were all in for it. Yeah. We loved it, like thick, fatty, flavorful sauces. That was a thing. And when you think about literally anything like ranch, you think about pretty much anything that sort of has that creamy, cold, thicker textures. I mean, that comes from aioli. It comes from emulsifying eggs and oil. And we've been doing it as a species since roughly the 14th century.
It's so crazy.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some different regions of the planet, and let's talk about their relationship with mayo.
Let's do it. Who would have thought?
Are you ready for this Russia fact? Coming at you with Russia facts.
Is there a bear about to deliver the news?
Yeah. It's going to blow your mind.
Okay.
And this is not even, this is going to be the smallest chunk of the podcast. And it's going to blow. It's going to be the one thing you walk away with. Guaranteed.
Okay.
Russia consumes the most mayo per capita.
I just got a very confused look. You guys can't see it, but I just got a very confused look on my face. That did just blow my mind. Why? How? Who would have? Why? What do they pair it with? Vodka?
So here's the thing. Yeah. Vodka mayo, New Amsterdam, baby. They use a mixture of sunflower oil and soybean oil, which, different oils give it different flavors.
Right, absolutely.
So it does give it a little bit of a different flavor, which I guess is cool. Still doesn't necessarily explain it.
No.
But I work with a Russian girl. She's a sweet lady, love her. But she was telling me that, like, that makes sense because they use it for a lot of different things. Like, I know, like, at least from what I've seen, like, the Russian diet also loves, like, breads and meats. So they do a lot of, like, meat salads and stuff with mayo. So like you see a lot of it in that world.
I had no idea.
The average Russian consumes 2.5 kilograms to 5 kilograms a year. That's roughly 2 pounds
of mayo.
Isn't that wild?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. It's also the only European country to sell more mayo than ketchup. So
interesting.
In conclusion, I think I'm part Russian.
Putin will be here with your birth certificate soon. Honorary. He's going to ask you to join the KGB after that.
Yeah, let's fly to Japan.
Okay, yes.
So pan mayo is made with rice vinegar, and it's
sense.
typically thicker. So
Really?
yeah,
Okay.
it's typically thicker and it's made with rice vinegar.
Rice vinegar, yeah.
That's why Japanese mayo is so fucking good, man.
That makes sense,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's super good. Now we're gonna kind of move around. We're gonna come to the States, which I know is what we're all interested in, because the States always does some crazy stuff.
What's up, bro?
So commercially jarred mayo,
Yeah.
in the States started in Philly in 1907.
Philadelphia.
Not only in Philly,
Yeah.
but by Amelia Schlorer.
Not
And she has a hard last name. Either way.
What up, girl?
So she was the first one to really start commercially producing jarred mayo.
Okay.
And it was just based off of her recipe that she served in her deli.
Let's
right?
go, girl. What's your little...
Get it.
Yes.
Get it. Get
With your little deli, a little sauce.
Around the same time,
Shout out to Philly, bro.
in NYC, we're giving all the hot cities a shout out.
Yo, East Coast.
And you're going to know this person.
Okay.
At Richard Hellman's Deli.
Hang on. Wait a second.
They sold his wife's mayo recipe
Let's go, girl.
with their salads. It was 100%.
Interesting.
It was just
like...
with their salads. By 1912, Mrs. Hellman's hit the masses.
Yeah.
And by 1926, it was trademarked as Hellman's Blue Ribbon Mayonnaise.
Wow.
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane. Fucking deli in New York. His wife makes a sick mayo. They start serving it with the salads. And around the same time that jarred mayonnaise was becoming a thing, they were like, yeah, might as well.
Might as well.
And they started mass producing, selling it.
That's so crazy. Like, what is the chances of that happening? I mean, timeline, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
all East Coast, baby.
yeah, no. And it's like, hey,
Yeah.
it makes sense. No wonder we know how to make a good fucking sandwich. East Coast knows what's up.
New York City.
Shout out to the
delis.
women. I didn't know.
Yeah, they were
on it. Yeah.
They're the reason mayo's on the shelves.
Yeah.
All right.
That's really cool.
All right, so let's get to, and this is going to kind of be the first, I guess, thing. I mean, we're only 3 episodes in, but this is going to be kind of the first sort of downside, I guess.
Okay.
Salmonella outbreaks are actually common
didn't think
with
about that.
mayo because of the raw egg.
Oh, duh. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's why you're not supposed to have raw cookie dough.
Yeah. So I
Interesting,
believe
okay.
I believe Europe does have standards of certain oil to egg to acid ratio,
Okay.
and they like the pH to be in the 4.5 to 5 region. I believe it might be even lower, something like that. I mean, it has to be acidic because it essentially can kill foodborne illnesses and can actually last. And I think a lot of like modern have some preservatives in it and stuff now. So the salmonella outbreak kind of lessened. But in 1955, this was the biggest one that I read, and I just was super blown away by the number. 1955 in Denmark, 10,000 cases were observed of a salmonella outbreak due to mayo.
Oh my gosh. That's a lot higher than it. Yeah.
The pH apparently was 6, was just right for the picking.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, that's mayo.
Yeah.
Like, it weirdly fascinating. I think mostly with mayo, I was super fascinated with just how the word happened, and we don't really know. And I think that's what's so interesting is that, like, it's weird to me that it became a word because we kind of already had one, right? Like, we had aioli bow, and like, you could have easily just, said aioli for the rest of everything in it, and that's it. Like, to me, that's all of it. But it almost seems like purists got in the way of that a little bit. You know what I mean? Where they were like, no, like, it's not French, or it's not this, or like, I prefer this. Like, they sort of got in the way of just
first debate.
Yeah, they sort of just got in the way of like, no, we'll just call it aioli. You know what I mean? Like, it's just aioli. That's what it is. Like, but yeah, I mean, whatever. We got stuck with the word mayo, and now again, it's one of the points of all food. Something I do with my grilled cheese now, instead of butter on the outside, mayo.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
Because the reaction, the fat of that renders, and that's the thing about fat is like the Maillard reaction in fat is what you go for. I mean, it's why you butter your toast, right? Like, it's that same sort of like, that's what you look for. Yeah. And so when you do it with oil, you get this, or this with mayo, you get this really crispy, nice, like beautiful.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. It's awesome. How do you feel about mayo?
Dude, I'm satisfied with mayo.
Satisfied with mayo.
Again, I think it is very interesting. Like, clearly it was a thing, like it was already a thing, but people didn't know what to call it and had different names for it. And then it was the story of mayo is the troll before the troll.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah, that's what I got. And Russia eats close to 2 pounds of mayo. Yeah, like, that's absurd to me. I never would have guessed.
Insane.
No.
Wild.
I'm kind of curious to know, like, what their cuisine is. Yeah. And consists of that they're just eating so much mayo. Yeah.
Mayo
I'm like, is it one of those things where it's like, oh, it's complimentary and that makes sense, or are we just making mayo be a thing to be a thing?
Well, let me ask you, like, I know you said you like mayo, but like, do you, like, in your everyday cooking, like, how often do you use mayo, or is it more of a when you're out sort of deal?
That's a good question. No, I mean, like, when you were mentioning that you put mayo on your toast, like, for your, like, I want to like try that cheese, now. Yeah. But normally it would just be, hey, like, making some burgers, some ketchup, mayo on it.
Like, when I said I love mayo, when I make an egg sandwich, I put mayo. I put mayo on the egg sandwich. I don't do mustard. No. Which I know some people
eggs
really
out mayo.
like.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, like, it's typically, like, most of my stuff is like mayo based.
No, I will. Yeah, I will have. You're right. Mayo is kind of the main.
I use it a lot.
Yeah.
I will say I'm also
other condiments,
I'm also a big mustard fan. So if I'm doing like
I think that's
if I'm doing like some burger sauces, sometimes I make more of like a mustard mayo relish sort of thing.
Oh, okay. So this does bring me back to my initial question. So would you put mayo on your hot dog? Like, if you had a hot dog or a brat, whatever you want to put on it, would you put ketchup, mustard, mayo?
I mean, I don't even
like a sandwich.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Yeah. I don't like ketchup on hot dogs. I don't like.
Would you put relish on? I'm
gonna be honest with you. I don't really like ketchup.
Oh.
Like I like ketchup as a sweetener with my burger sauces and with my fry sauces. Yeah. Like, ketchup is really good to me because it is sugar essentially, and it's not like it isn't, but like I mean, but absolutely. Tomatoes are fruit, and like tomatoes are fruity, sweety, like they're very like they're in that realm. That's what I like about them. Yeah. Like, when I put them in a dish, that's what I want from them. Yeah. I want that fresh sort of. That night, either like if it's on my tacos, I want that fresh sort of sweet, juicy bite, and if it's with like a pasta dish, typically I want it cooked a little bit. Let's caramelize some of those sugar. Let's make it deeper. Let's make it more robust. Let's make it a little bit. There's a little bit more flavor behind that. So that's what I'd use tomatoes for.
Sure,
and that's all ketchup is like highly reduced tomatoes, which is a lot of sugar, and then mostly like added sugar, salts, peppers, white pepper,
your MSG,
salt, MSG. That's just your basis.
That's all you need.
No, but that's typically what so like, yeah, I mean, honestly, straight up, I would put just fucking mayo on a.
Interesting.
Yeah, why not? Mayo's good, man. It is delicious. Like, I don't know. People can heckle me because I like mayo so much, but it's like, dude, like, if you like ranch, you essentially just like herb mayo. Yeah. Yeah, but
start calling ranch that.
Yeah,
herbed mayo.
Which it's not necessarily accurate because there are ranches made with like buttermilk and stuff like that. But like,
no, but I like.
But there are like herb aiolis and stuff that are essentially in place of ranches. Yes, and it's borderline the same thing. Yes. One's just thicker than the other, so it's like whatever. Also, 100% would take an herb aioli over ranch. It's way better.
I was it's probably a bit more
thicker. It's good. It's so good. It just sticks on the. It just lines your mouth up. So are you increasing your
what did I say, 8 earlier?
You said 7.
Okay, yeah, so we're gonna bump it up to an 8.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty solid.
Nice. We're going 8 stars.
We're going 8 stars on a mayo.
Out of 10 stars on
aioli.
Mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise, yeah.
All right, this is the end of the podcast. Welcome to the end of the podcast. This is where we talk. Guys, if you want more of Where Does Food, follow us on Twitter. That's at Where Does Food. I'm at Tim Wehunt. She is at El Chapo. Yeah, so follow us on there. Interact with us. Talk about the episodes. Talk about whatever. Don't harass us.
Give us some food recs. Diners Drive In and Dive this shit.
Yeah, give some food recs. We're still trying to compile season 2, so we're pumped. Check us out on anchor.fm/where-does-food. Again, that's anchor.fm/where-does-food. Something I haven't mentioned in previous episodes that I will. These are all hot links. I'm talking a lot, but if you just go to the episode info, you'll actually see the links. So
incredible.
You can just check it all out there.
Fucking seamless, Tim.
Yeah, it's going to be super sick. So, check out those links. We have a supporter button. You can support us, help us pay the bills, upgrade our equipment.
Yes.
That's, if you want to do that, go for it. If you don't, cool, enjoy the content. Yeah, and we're kind of developing bonus episodes, and we're gonna kind of figure that all out. We have some pretty good ideas, and we're excited to get those going. We're also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You know what I mean? We're
in it.
We're out there. You can leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Something else I keep forgetting to mention. Yeah, leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It helps on Apple Podcasts a lot.
Yes.
Like if you leave some reviews. If you leave 1 star, I'm coming after you. But like if you leave a 5, man,
3 to 5 is pretty.
I'll high five you. No, but either way, enjoy the rest of your evening or day or morning or enjoy your life. Yeah, that's the end of the show.